Hi, this is Shirish Kulkarni, founder and CEO of STROTA Consultech, which is into business consulting for last 5 years, helping small and medium businesses to grow. With this new initiative called as HATKE, we are talking to various business owners, corporate leaders, to look at the way that they are looking differently from their point of view to the current situation. And lockdown is slightly over, lockdown was there, and there are some kind of constraints or solutions that they have got in place. And they are looking up. I think we have a great opportunity to have Shreekanth Moorthy with us, who is a leader in IT, a company with the name TataTechnologies in the leadership role. So Shreekanth, so nice to have you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be talking to you guys, and it's an opportunity to actually exchange thoughts, and I'm hoping that I learn a few things from you as well.
Absolutely. So it's a great honor to have you. Thanks for your time. But looking at the situation, slowly we are trying to look at something called as new normal. But I see a smile on your face, and that kind of a relaxed Srikanth.
you know, it's like how do I say it? I'm like a duck, right? I might appear calm at the top, but I'm furiously paddling at the bottom, below the surface. So it's yes, we've managed this situation fairly well. I won't say that we are absolutely brilliant. We've had our own challenges as well, but insofar as the lockdown is concerned and our business continuity is concerned, I think we've managed fairly well, and it's because of all the prep work that we've done over the years. That are now through
proven that
coming to fruition. Yeah.
good. So all those things that we actually define as business continuity plan, BCP, and disaster management. Do you think that all has come to an help where you pulled it out and really worked it for yourself, being an IT company?
Big time. So I'll give you a few examples, right? See, the organization, when of course I took over a few years ago, the organization's focus wasn't on as much on BCP was a ISO thing, right? In the ISO standards, and
Tick mark
we
kind of.
also for the Tatas we do this TBEM, or the Tata Business Excellence Model. So it's even in those kind of things, BCP was a checkbox. Do you have a BCP manager? If in case there is a disaster, floods and fire and earthquakes and this and that, then what would you do, right? Do you have a second site where you can kind of move everything and go into a disaster recovery mode? It was in that context. Nobody imagined in the world that 160 plus countries would be affected by this pandemic, and everybody is working from home, right? So, but what we did, in the past few years was, number one, we fixed our security posture, right? I mean, we made sure that our firewalls were state of the art, next gen. We made sure that all our devices were being patched very regularly. It's one thing to say, yeah, I do my patching. It's another thing to say that, oh, well, I've forgotten to patch for the past 2 months, right? So it has to flow in a process. Then, of course, we've implemented a lot of other security features within our organization, and we did something close to 17, 18 different technologies and projects over the past 18 months to 2 years, right? That made sure that our security infrastructure was as good as we can hope it to be at this point in time, right? It's not going to be, Ministry of Defense or Department of Defense or the CIA, NSA kind of a thing. Of course, you can never put enough money into security, right?
I know it is the cost that will go increasing.
Yeah. But we've done most of the things that one might say are hygiene and must have, right? We've implemented things like mobile device management, right? we've made sure that we have identity access management.
Okay.
So only specific people can get access to our network. We have multi-factor authentication for critical roles. I mean, different things have been implemented, right? And we are in the business. Tata Technologies is in the business of, we say that we are engineering a better world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are into engineering and we are into manufacturing. So the amount of IP that we play with, our zone and the customers, right? It's quite sensitive data, right? Next generation cars, trucks, and planes, for example, right? Or earth moving machinery, right? That's coming in, or connected cars and connected enterprises. All these things are high value IP, right? And it's critical that we do everything we can to make sure that that is safe. That was number one. Number two was our infrastructure itself. We wanted to make sure that we have a high amount of mobility and reuse of assets, right? Okay. So we have used, what is called as VDI or virtual desktop infrastructure quite a bit, right? We have used, we have a very established, BYOD policy, right? Bring your own device. Okay. So if I'm connecting with my home PC into my office network, it won't let me, right? I have to register it. I have to say that I have a business risk, and I absolutely need this device to connect because I don't have my own devices to connect, right? We have a always on VPN kind of a access model. So you cannot do anything unless you have VPN. And for VPN, you need to go through a bunch of checks to make sure that everything is set. So we have all these technologies and processes in place. The only thing that we struggled with initially, and of course we have great partners in all these endpoint vendors. I'm talking about people like Dell and HP and Lenovo and all these guys, right? And of course our friends in the market who we rent laptops and desktops from, right? So we have a good set of people that we work with, and because we are in the engineering space, right? Yeah. A lot of our devices are big workstations that people work on, right?
Pretty high end.
Exactly, and so we make sure that and so when we wanted to do this, we had to procure several laptops, for example. Okay, hundreds of devices we had to procure, and that happened between the time that we felt that we needed to do social distancing to the point that the Prime Minister announced that we're going to go into a complete lockdown. So we had to really, really rush, right? We had to take a punt. We said, it's going to cost us a bucket load of money. And our leadership is very, very, pro risk, if you will, right? They're like, okay, let's do this. Right? It's the right decision to take. Of course, nobody is reckless, but people are very entrepreneurial, right? Even our leadership is very entrepreneurial. And so we said, you know what, we need to do all these things. So let's go, right? At a later time to realize that, oh my God, we should have done something a month ago doesn't make sense, right? So we placed all those orders, we did all those things. And as the lockdown happened, we got these machines in and we started to churn them out, right? I mean, so it was a bit of a struggle initially, right? Because people couldn't travel, the trucks were stopped on the highway, all those kinds of things that happened. But beyond that, we've not had too much of an issue.
Super, but I think looking back, coming out of that kind of a jolt or natural push where things are completely stopped, where we are connected through internet and all this network connectivity. Machines are connected, but humans are not till the time we enable them. So work from home was a paradigm shift. I see, companies like even TCS, where work from home, because of the secrecy for having person to work from home, due to engaging with customers who are very touchy about it, was never attempted, and hence I think is that the similar kind of case in which, you know, push come to the show, and you decided, you know, your people will start working, or there was a phased manner approach that you had?
I, I'd like to say it was all planned, right? Uh, I don't think, I think I'd be lying if I said that.
Yeah,
So it was a combination, right? The moment we knew something is going to happen, we started talking to our customers, right? We said, this is going to happen. And if the Prime Minister and the government decide this, then we have to make sure that we allow people to work from home, right? And we will do this, right? I mean, there were several things that we had to assure our customers that their data is not going to get lost, right? They're not going to get hacked. All those fears come up, right? So we have a very solid communique that we sent out to our customers saying that your data is safe. This is how we are going to govern. We are going to make sure that these devices are safeguarded with these technologies and so on and so forth. And this is the process in which we will work with you, right? So we did that. And, 95-98% of our customers were completely all right, right?
wow.
The remaining 2 or 3, 4%, initially they said, no. And then they said, well, this lockdown is going to be over in 15 days.
Why?
We'll wait for 15 days,
Right.
those kind of things. But everybody has come back to realize that this is here for the long term,
Right.
and we manage that, right? But I've got to be honest about it. Work from home, we can assume one thing. Okay, people like you and me and others, are maybe fortunate to have large homes and good infrastructure. 100 Mbps line at home. Those kind of things are okay for some people. But when you look at the pyramid, right, the bottom rung of the pyramid, where people are living in 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartments, the single people are living in PGs and shared accommodation. Work from home is not easy, right? And they may have small children, right? They don't have a whole host of facilities in terms of live-in maids or or even the number of rooms in your house to make sure that everybody has the privacy and everything can go on as intended, right? So we've got to think about that. So it's been, at this point in time, I think initially everybody said, "Oh, this is nice, work from home," right? And then they started feeling the pain. The bedroom became your office. The dining table, half of it is occupied by your laptops and desktops and all that.
Gadgets, right?
Yeah, gadgets. So after a certain point, everybody gets used to it, right? And they find their norm, right? Saying that, okay, this is how it will all work. But going forward, we have to figure out what our mechanism needs to be, right? The way it is it's not sustainable, right? Especially because in India, we have fundamental issues around, thank you, fundamental issues around living quarters, right? That is something that I think we need to also think about.
Good. So, as you were speaking to the customers maybe, from manufacturing and other verticals, but you hailing from manufacturing, as you were discussing, I think it must be putting you in a proper context, though being having a hat of a IT owner, to relate to them and to talk to them in that lingo and that way.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. See, the thing is, customers don't buy from companies. Customers buy from individuals, right? Customers want to know that when they're talking to you, that you can speak their language, right? And it is very critical to have that domain expertise to make sure that. So if we are talking about machines and let's say in an automotive context, if people are working on their body shop or the trim chassis and final, or they're talking about some, automated work cells or whatever else. I mean, if we talk their language, all of a sudden they say, this guy knows exactly what I'm talking about. Now we can ideate and we can solve a problem, right? So it's been fairly easy from that perspective, because at Tata Technologies, all of us are engineers and manufacturing folks, right? We are IT people secondary. So, I know I was explaining to somebody. I said we have, cutting fluid and coolant in our veins, not blood, right? So it is interesting, but the one thing that helps us, right, is we are in the engineering focused area, right? So a lot of it has to do with design. A lot of it has to do with the ability to, we are not, working in the plants as much, in terms of percentage. Of course, a certain percentage of our population does work in the plants, right? In our connected enterprise, in implementing MES systems, or ERP systems, and so on and so forth. So yeah, there is a certain population, but for the most part, our business is in the engineering area,
design space and engineering space,
design space and the IT space, right? So it's been fairly, I guess I would say, manageable, right?
Absolutely.
But our challenges are really from the downturn of the entire industrial economy itself, right? So when people are feeling the pinch, we will also feel the pinch.
I think it's inevitable when the whole industry slows down. It is the bigger size of the funnel, which is actually kind of shrunk at the top.
Right.
It is definitely.
I mean, can you imagine? I mean, most of these car companies haven't sold even 0.5% of the cars that they sell on a monthly basis, right? And in some places they've sold zero. Right? And their inventory is full and plants are shut down. So, I mean, when they suffer, it's going to percolate down to the supply chain as well.
Good. So, bringing a parlance, the way that we were talking about the scrum getting used otherwise in other sectors, but taking it from manufacturing, something called as lean manufacturing, where, you don't have any waste, you eliminate all those redundant, not customer paid kind of operations. So do you think that is applicable in the IT space as the way that you are looking in the current scenario where everything is, on cost, like focus on it is absolutely on the penny?
That's a great question. So from an IT standpoint, we've always been Scrum Agile focused, right? So I think from a processy standpoint, and for example, at this point in time, all my people that are working on SAP projects or Salesforce projects or whatever else, right? We and also other enterprise projects. I know exactly who's doing what and how much work is being done, right? There is, and it's not looking at the timesheets, right? Time booking, everybody will do, right? But when you look at tasks, when you look at things to be done, when you look at your agile dashboards, and you say, okay, this much quantum of work has to be done, and for these are the test cases, these are the requirements, and so on and so forth. When you flow it down, you know exactly who's working on what.
Wow.
Right? So we've not had as much of an issue on that side at all, right? But there are things like IT operations and infra, right? Where it's all very touch and feel kind of a situation, right? I mean, you go to somebody who has a problem, you help solve their problem, right?
Ticket-based system.
Exactly. And so measuring productivity for those areas is becoming somewhat challenging. Okay. A lot of people have, for example, stores. We had a few people in stores, right? Now there is no stores. So they are sitting around twiddling their thumbs, right? So we are trying to make sure that we can use their expertise on other projects like asset verification, right? Which can be done remotely. right? So if 7,000 machines are pinging my network at a certain point, I'll know what machines those are, right? And I can try to figure out which machines are closer to end of life, what I need to do, and so on and so forth, right? I mean, we have a lot of other tasks that can now be done by those people, right? So asset verification is one of those examples as well, right? But even so, I think we are also discovering that we have some areas where we might be able to optimize, okay? And so that optimization, when you're pushed to a corner where everything is getting squeezed, you can start discovering that whole iceberg example, right? As the water level goes down, you see more and more defects, right? So we are seeing that as well, and those defects now we are trying to figure out if we can do something about it, and make sure that, because at the end of the day, Sirish, every single person wants to be productive. Nobody, I mean, yes, there are people who want to just, take it easy for a little bit, but that little bit doesn't last very long, right? Eventually they feel, I mean, everybody has this inner voice, right? That says that I want to be meaningful, right? I want to deliver something that other people are proud of, right? I want to, and I matter, right? And when that comes in, all of a sudden we see innovation come up from various people, right? So one of our guys came up with this idea to set up a website to collect key information, so that if and when the government says return to work, right, we will have all the data to ask for approvals from the government, right? So we have their Aadhaar card information, we have their photograph, we have their vehicle numbers, we have their license number, right? And we know whether they have been in touch with any COVID people, right? Whether they have been sick, their families have been sick. So we've got an entire thing collected for the entire enterprise, right? Now, depending on who needs to come into work or how we need to phase that in, our backend teams and our admin teams have all the information to start to push that information to get the mass approvals, right? The vehicle passes. And state by state, the requirement of these vehicle passes is different, right? So we made sure that we did that as well. We didn't just wait for the government to say, okay, go to work, and then we said, okay, what do we do, right?
So I see a great example of finding new avenues of improvement as opportunity when we are really pushed hard. I see that the kind of reskilling of potential of reskilling of individuals to get into another jobs. So I believe that we are sending a message to employees that there would not be any retrenchment as far as possible. There would be a cost burden. I would say there could be some salary cuts also potentially, maybe, may not be. But we will have to, if we say that, okay, we hear to our inner voice of adding the value, I think we are together and we will win together. I think that is the message you are trying to say.
That is the message. And see, every company will decide what they need to decide to stay afloat, right? And to stay fairly profitable and whatever. But what comes up in the future, nobody can say, right? If, for example, in the next week, they come out with a vaccine, okay, and it happens and it is an amazing revelation for the entire world and whatever else, all of a sudden, you'll see a skyrocketing up of business and everything else, right? So one cannot, I mean, we have to be hopeful, right? We have to be hopeful that the right things will happen, right? We have to, and I'll give you another example, right? This is the time we need to figure out how to repurpose our employees to do other things, right? And for example, I was just reading about this, a friend of mine and his friend really has this engineering company in Hyderabad. And they make you know, tools and dies and other things with steel and for the manufacturing industry and such, right? And with this COVID thing, they completely changed everything, and now they make ventilators.
Wow.
Okay, they make ventilators, and all of a sudden, a ventilator that costs between 10 and 30,000, right, is being sold for about $3,000.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so and these ventilators are world class, right? And of course, I'll share some more information about that with you later.
Okay.
But the point is, you know, everybody is looking at what they can do to reskill themselves and repurpose their infrastructure or their setup to do other things as well.
Superb. I think maybe you're twisting a little bit to the history that you have.
I'll just add one more thing before you ask the question.
Please.
Companies are now, our customers are now asking us, and other companies are asking us, what we've done for BCP for all these companies, and could we kind of use those tricks and those solutions that we have developed as a proper service line for these people. Wow. Right?
So you have created certain things out of getting forced to do such a large operation, and then you are going to translate that as a offering back to the manufacturing customer. I think that's a great achievement. In a normal state, we would have not even thought about those possibilities, because that's large kind of a infrastructure and setup was not available for you to try those things out.
Exactly.
And now the solution is ready, where I believe it's an opportunity to create another offering and a go-to-market strategy. I believe that is
absolutely. And why not, right? Think about it this way, right? Most companies are saying, okay, we're going to move into a hybrid environment. Okay, and of course we are talking about the new normal and this and that. And if we go into a hybrid environment, what about your existing facilities, right? So everybody will try to see if we can, move some of the people into a permanent work from home
model,
right? And compress the need for physical infrastructure, right? And you don't need these many buildings. You don't need these many, facilities as such.
Absolutely.
And so it is conceivable, and maybe a lot of people have bought these buildings, right? It is owned by them. It is conceivable then that in the next few years, they might offer better prices for their customers and grow, hire more people, but not build any new buildings.
And it is from the home that these guys will be working for that.
No, not just home. I'm saying the existing buildings, right, is enough for a growth of 40-50%.
Absolutely, without doing anything.
Exactly.
It's just recalibration of the same workforce, some portion working as a percentage from maybe remote, from home.
Yeah.
Superb. Going back a little bit on your stay back in the US, maybe Detroit, I'm just thinking, would the life been different if COVID would have happened there, or you find it is better here? How is that kind of a scenario?
I'm not sure I understand your question. Can you rephrase that?
Yeah, so I'm going to rephrase that. I'm trying to understand your frame of mind in when you were in Detroit, and if pandemic would have happened against the pandemic when you are here in India. Is there any change of your mindset, or is it the same, or how do you look at it?
I think, to be honest with you, this pandemic has affected the whole world alike, right? There is no,
displays that.
There is nothing that shows that it has affected somebody lesser than others, right? In the US, sitting in the US, I would have been, quite honestly, of course, hindsight is 2020, but I would have been quite worried because initially, when you think about the US, it's pretty spread out, right? Not a very large population, right? and it is 3 times the size of India, right? With maybe less than 1/3 the population, right? And if you look at the, and so there is no, the close proximity thing doesn't really happen. The overcrowded cities, except for New York or San Francisco or Los Angeles or Chicago or whatever else, other than these mega cities, you don't see that. And so I would have assumed that, it's not going to be, right? But now they have crossed over 100,000 people dead, right? And 1 lakh people dying in a country. It's New York Times came out with this front page. There was no articles on the front page. It was just names of the 100,000 people.
Oh my God!
Right, and they have lost more people than all the wars in the last century. Okay, so the thing is, it's quite different now, right? At the beginning of the pandemic, I would have thought, it's not going to be anything, right? At this point in time, it would be very worrying, right? Because the people are also fiercely independent there, right? And they say that it's my body and I decide whether I want to put myself in risk and right. And it's not something like India, right? A complete lockdown doesn't really happen in the US, right? There are a lot of the constitutional or assumed constitutional rights that people have, and that has a different kind of an effect on how they behave, right? But in India, we are basically saying, whatever the government says, we're going to follow. And otherwise, 1.4 billion people. I mean, can you imagine? The entire country is in lockdown, and if that wasn't done, to be honest with you, we would be in very, very, very bad shape. Lakhs and lakhs and lakhs of people sick would have overwhelmed our healthcare systems and hospitals and everything else. And so clearly, even now when they are saying, okay, the lockdown is going to be phased out, I worry, especially in Maharashtra, right? Mumbai and Pune have the highest number of cases.
That's right.
We are the epicenter. We are almost the New York of of India in terms of the number of infections and everything else. And so it is very worrying. But I'm hoping that that we come through this in one piece, and none of our close family or friends or people we know are affected. We are just hoping, right? And
true.
Let's see.
We have still to pass that phase, but people are talking about this new normal, where there'll be a new set of rules, new set of ways of working. So do you think, from your point of view, the learnings that you had during this phase, I would call it learning, or maybe some new things or innovative things or HATKE things that you've thought through, do you think that will come to and help, where you will bet on, okay, this will work, that will work, PLM will grow like this, smart manufacturing will go here, IoT is taking a different shape, electric vehicle is shaping? I mean, where is your mind? Where is the leverage coming?
At this point in time, to be honest with you, I'll tell you what, right? My belief is manufacturing is the backbone of any economy. Okay, manufacturing has to come back, right? Things have to get to a point where it becomes, and of course, there's going to be a tremendous amount of investment and value from healthcare, right? All these vaccine companies, and there'll be a whole lot of focus on that end as well. I feel that, in my view, healthcare is going to go up really rapidly, right? Automation in disease diagnosis, automation in things like robotic surgeries, for example, right? Those kind of things are going to. I feel that all that is going to have a
telemedicine, maybe, yeah,
absolutely, right? And now you have online pharmacies, right? That a lot of people are investing in. All those things will start coming in quite a bit, people will find that working from home is not as bad, right? There is going to be a hybrid kind of a thing. Uh, you won't find, I believe, right? You won't find the same crowded roads of the past, right? So that way it helps the environment, it helps our rivers and our air that we breathe and our water that we drink. So it's going to be very, very helpful in those areas as well. Uh, uh, the only thing I would say is we have learned quite a lot of lessons in this. I mean, we were thrown into the water and asked to swim, and so we've learned somewhat. And I think that is going to get polished, right? To a point where we will know what kind of a balance is best to continue this, right? I don't think things that will change fundamentally are things like large gatherings, overcrowded. I think people will want to exercise that caution.
Big
Right?
conferences, maybe marriage parties or other parties.
Marriage parties or even parties, right? I mean, a Friday, Saturday, Sundays, if you go to Baliwari High Street,
Oh my
you
God.
see a sea of people there, right?
Absolutely.
I think all that is going to kind of tone down a little bit.
Right.
Okay, so social behavior is going to be affected, right? But from a industry standpoint, we are going through a dip. But once manufacturing starts coming up again, I think we will all come back to a certain degree of normal, right? And that's something that I do believe is going to happen.
Right. I think there is a promise where at least some of the companies, some auto OEMs also have started with 33% of 35% of capacity, slowly regaining, maybe limping back, but still there. I think
it'll come back. It'll come back. No question about it, right? I think our sense of cleanliness, right? I don't think Indians have washed their hands, or anybody for the matter, the world over. I don't think people have washed their hands and made sure that as disinfected as possible in a long, long time, right? I think you will see a lot of people with face masks, right? I used to travel to Japan and China quite a bit, and Korea, South Korea, right? And what I found was it was very common to see people with face masks,
okay.
right? In the
trains and transport,
local trains and buses, and in general, right? And I always would wonder, right? Why, right? And now you realize that they were the smarter ones, right? Okay, I think you'll see a lot of that. But at the same time, I also fear in India, for example, I don't know what's happening in the other countries, but in India, for example, people are also starting to become a little careless. Okay, I honestly hope that we don't see a second wave or a third wave, right? If you go out to buy your groceries or whatever else, the level of discipline is not the same as it was, 8 weeks ago, right? People are getting to be a little bit careless, right? And so it is incumbent on us, the citizenry, right? The responsible folks to say and talk to somebody and say, put on your mask.
Yeah, stop that.
Stay 6 feet away, right?
Yes.
I don't want you this close. If you want to go ahead, and if you're in such a bit of a hurry, take my place, but don't risk me and my family, right? I mean, we've got to do that, right? The Baner area, for example, I don't know about the Kothurud area, but the Baner area is fairly okay, right? Baner Round has had only handful of infections. We don't want to turn this into a red zone, right? Or a containment zone. I mean, it's going to get completely messed up. So I think we need to remember, right? And that realization that we need to, we owe it to ourselves and our families and our friends and our communities that we should be responsible about these things. I think that's very, very important as well.
Good. And maybe a little bit going towards personal side. You were at the helm of the organization, part of leadership, and though as the way that you were humbly saying that you are like a duck where things are happening under the water, but there would be would be stress, and so still you are kind of at ease with yourself. So is there anything that motivates you? Is there a kind of a hobby or something that you do that keeps you head focused?
I'll tell you, right, and it's a great question, Sirish. I think I'm an incorrigible optimist. I cannot be a pessimist, right?
Super.
So I think it's very, very important to have that keep driving you, right? Oh, it'll become okay. You know, it's like that Three Idiots movie, right? All is well, right?
All is well.
I mean, if we start talking about how miserable things are, I stopped listening to the news, for example, right?
Absolutely. Same here.
I don't want to listen to any more COVID this and COVID that, right?
Yeah.
And whatever happens, right? Jo hoga hoga, aake ke dekhenge. Like we should do our bit at this point in time, at least. So that's one part of it, right? The second is I am blessed with a wonderful family and a peaceful home environment, right? Not everybody is blessed with that, right? We find people who have stressful personal relationships that may not like this very much, right? So I'm blessed with that. The third thing is I won't say I'm overly religious, but I'm very spiritual, right?
Very good.
So we have our shlokas or our
Puja and
our Vedic chantings in the mornings, and we have a certain rhythm to it, and we are hoping that that brings a certain amount of peace.
Superb.
Right? And of course, my hobbies are my kids, right? I've got two wonderful daughters, and they keep me occupied quite a bit. But when I want time on my own, I'm a big World War II buff, right?
Okay.
And so I'll watch old World War II movies or documentaries or other things. But in my spare time, I build airplanes out of wood.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah, these are scaled model aircraft, and so I'll build different planes and
you would fit the engine and you will fly them also with
no, these are static,
okay,
but
static.
they look very real.
Oh,
And I paint them with the colors of
my God.
that time, right? 1941 to 45. Europe or mainly the European theater. So I do all those kinds of things, and I'm very hands-on with tools and woodworking and all that. So
Excellent, excellent.
yeah.
So are you missing your car driving, your passion to drive?
I'm missing my cars, yes, but I'm missing my motorcycles even more. Right? I used to ride a Honda Shadow, one of those big bikes, when I was in the US, but I don't do that now. So I miss that, and I miss the endless highways of the US. Right? Once you get on the highway, I mean, you forever you can
the horizon.
keep driving, right? Riding. So I miss all that, but it's in the US, of course. It was quite lonely, right? Because you don't have as many
support
people,
system, and
right?
support system is not there.
Yeah, the support system and all that. Here, it's fantastic, right? So anytime you want something, your friends, families, neighbors, a whole bunch of people are out there, and you're there for them as well. So I think India, as such, has done brilliantly well, right? It is a great testament to this country and its people for having listened to what the government is saying, and 99.99% of the cases, everything has gone on as intended, right? And I think it's amazing. It's amazing that we've managed to pull this off as well as we have.
Wonderful. I see an individual having all facets of an individual dimension to be satisfied, satiated, full with all the support that you require. I believe that is the way that if one is secured, nothing like a pandemic can touch him or her, I believe.
Yeah.
That is the
I
way
mean, we've got to believe that. Absolutely, we've got to believe that.
And never saying, that there is no touch of negativity. I think that's a blessing.
And I'm telling you, right? I don't know if you've read this book called The Secret, right? By Rhonda Byrne. The whole concept of The Secret is the law of attraction. You'll attract only what you are believing inside, right? So if you passionately believe that everything is going to be okay and it's all good, and it's, then what happens is, even when negative things happen, it doesn't affect you as badly, right? And only positive kind of keeps coming back to you. And I think that's very, very important.
I think that resonates so well said about like-minded brains and like-minded people coming together and sending this message out that it is possible. It's temporary. It's just kind of a phase. Recession comes, ups and downs comes in life.
Yeah.
So with that, Shreekanth, I would like to thank you for your time. But before we close this interaction, any message is there? For people are looking at. They might not be as positive or as optimist as one should be. So anything that you want to say?
I would say that, it is darkest before dawn, right? That 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, it is darkest before dawn. So there is going to be light at the end of the tunnel, right? It is, we are all going to get out of this. And I would implore people that anytime, practice positivity, right? Anytime a negative thought comes in, push it away, right? Anytime you're looking at the news and seeing all these horrible statistics and people dying and rioting happening here or there or whatever else, don't look at it. Look at it as an isolated incident and say that, you know what, that'll go away. We are planning for a better future. Can you imagine 30, 40, 50% cleaner India, right? Where everybody, right, from the lowest, from the poorest of the poor to the richest of the rich, everybody looks at hygiene in a different light, right? It's an existential issue, right? And there are going to be positive things out of this. And we are going to see that we are going to build a much, much better country moving forward from this point on.
Very well said, Shreekanth. I would like to, I did not want to, this interview or discussion can keep continuing, but wanted to thank you so much for the time. And
thank you for your time. I'm honored.
Absolutely. And wishing you a great success in personal as well as professional life, and, wishing that Tata Technologies and you come up with different sets of things which are innovative and get manufacturing world captured, and they are looking back to have Tata Technologies building different solutions that will take you to the next horizon.
Thank you so much, Shirish. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks.
बिजनेस कोई भी हो, सक्सेस की नींव हम रखते हैं।
बुलंदियों को छूने की आपके अरमानों की उम्मीद जगाती जोत है, हर सपनों का हम स्रोत है।
सही स्ट्रेटेजी, परफेक्ट डिसीजन मेकिंग और बिजनेस ग्रोथ के लिए हम आपके साथ कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर आपकी स्वप्न पूर्ति करते हैं। स्त्रोत कंसल्टेंट, सिनर्जाइजिंग ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन।